Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Donella. If you just so happen to be, stopping by for the very first time. Now for this video, I'm going to be demoing the newest release from MAC Cosmetics. And it's really not that new because if I'm not mistaken, this might have dropped like the later part of last year or early this year, somewhere between December and January. And it's the MAC Studio WaterWeight Concealer, and this one is in the shade NC45. MAC is really one of those high-end brands, and when you think of variety, MAC is probably one of the brands that usually comes to mind. As a matter of fact, in my early days as when I first started off as a makeup artist, I remember MAC was actually one of the very first brands that I could buy. Like when you think of things like foundation, concealers, lashes, powders, skin prep stuff, brush cleaning stuff, brushes, lip products, like almost everything that you can think of in terms of creating like a full face of products, MAC actually has every single thing. So they're actually one of those old school, I don't really want to say old school, but they're actually one of those brands that you can actually go on their website and get a full variety of stuff. So I got the WaterWeight Concealer sometime back in February. I remember it was then because I was shopping on Nostrum, and for those of you who don't know, Nostrum actually has a beauty and makeup section, and they carry a wide variety of MAC products. Because I know that shopping online as an international customer, the MAC website actually has a few restrictions. So if you're a lover of MAC products and you're wondering where you can purchase them online, besides going on Amazon and seeing those ridiculous prices, Nostrum is actually one of those places that you can actually go and you can purchase the MAC products at the same price that they carry on the MAC Cosmetics website. This concealer, because one of my followers actually brought it to my attention, I was not aware that this concealer even existed. And I was aware of the WaterWeight foundation because I actually purchased that 2 years ago when it launched, and it was my favorite foundation to use during the summertime because it's lightweight and it was light to medium coverage. So during the summertime, I like to switch up my foundations. I don't really like anything that's too heavy. As I said before, I'm not a big lover of full coverage foundations. I like any foundation that is anywhere between light to medium coverage. That's me, that's my preference. So when I actually read the claims on the WaterWeight foundation, I knew that I would love it. And I actually thought I may have repurchased another bottle, but because MAC is a high-end brand, if you can actually find something cheaper that does the same exact thing, then why not? So I ended up actually shifting my attention to the Neutrogena Nourishing Longwear foundation. So this was actually the low-end brand to the MAC WaterWeight Concealer. This has the same type of consistency. It's not heavy and it's not full coverage. It's somewhere between light to medium coverage, and it just looks absolutely amazing on your skin. It doesn't sit on your skin, it just melts right in. It's just an amazing foundation. And I actually switched between the MAC WaterWeight Concealer to that because this actually costs like somewhere between $8 to $10, whereas the MAC foundations run somewhere between like $24 to $30. Financially, that made a lot more sense to me. So the WaterWeight Concealer looks like this. And if you guys are familiar with the WaterWeight foundation, it has the same exact shape as the WaterWeight Concealer. It has the same drip applicator as well. Now this one is in the shade NC45, but the actual bottle, I can't remember the name of this type of bottle. It can actually confuse you because when you open it, the formula inside looks completely different, and this is NC45, so I know this is the highlight shade that I would use on most days, like when I want a super bright highlight. NC45 is a concealer that I would use, the concealer shade I would use. So it looks like this. I'm just going to drop it on the back of my hand so you guys can actually see what it looks like. Yes, it definitely has that runny consistency, in keeping with the name WaterWeight. So I expected it to be exactly like this. And according to what they say on the site, their claims is that this is supposed to be a light to medium coverage concealer, and it is actually buildable, and it's supposed to cover blemishes and dark marks and all that. But I'm not too sure about that because this is really thin. When you think about the consistency of it, it's really thin. It feels extremely lightweight, almost like a feather. So I'm not really sure if it's gonna cover up your dark circles and your blemishes and all that. but we're gonna demo it and see if, you know, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe they actually do. So I'm just gonna take a bit of it with my you know what, I'm going to use my beauty blender. I'm going to take the exact well, I'm not going to take the exact, but I'm going to take a bit of it on my beauty blender. I'm going to start off really light. I don't know how this is going to work out. I usually like to start my highlight from right here by the end of my nose and kind of build my way up, because sometimes I feel like when I start directly underneath my eyes, I do have a heavy hand when it comes to concealer. So I like to start from here, so even if I make a mistake, I can actually blend it out. I'm going to start from here and then I'm going to work my way up. Wow, for something that's supposed to be more so on the WaterWeight side, you know what, I think I need to pull my hair back in the way so you guys can actually see my face. For something that's supposed to be on, you know, like the WaterWeight side, this actually looks really, really good. So far, so good. Looks good. Okay, I'm just going to take the same small amount and just apply it. Same technique. I'm going to drag it from the end of my nose and just drag it up. And I'm also using a semi-wet beauty blender. I didn't want to completely wet it because this is a WaterWeight concealer. So I'm assuming if I had this too wet that we're going to see a lot of separation going on. And I know that this is a WaterWeight concealer, so I know the consistency of it is not going to be on the thick side. So I had to really just not wet my beauty blender too much. And I'm really, really liking the coverage of this so far. It looks really good. But if I'm not mistaken, some of the videos that I've seen on it, there's not a lot of reviews on this concealer. So I'm assuming it's not really popular. Some persons probably say, you know, pass. Maybe they try the foundation and they'll be like, pass, like it's not really a big deal. In most cases, you know, beauty gurus here on YouTube, they like a full-on cake face, anything. Full-on cake face foundations, full-on cake face concealer. So I'm assuming people probably read the claims on this concealer and they probably said, oh, pass. I've seen on this concealer, there are claims that the concealer actually oxidizes after a period of time. And I can actually see it actually turning a little much darker. It almost looks like it's turning into like an NC50 compared to the yellowness that the NC45 usually carries. So I'm actually thinking that they might be right, and I'm going to try to blend this out as much as I can before it sets, because according to MAC's website, this is supposed to dry down to a matte finish. So I'm guessing if you have really dry skin, that this is probably not the best concealer to use as an under eye highlight. So I'm going to actually finish the rest of my face and see how matte this actually gets. But so far, so good. The only thing that I don't like so far is because it's a WaterWeight concealer, you know, it's water-based. So I can see that it's settling into a few of my fine lines that I have beneath my eyes, and I really hate concealers that do that. But so far, so good in terms of the consistency. I expected it to be exactly like its parent, which is the WaterWeight foundation. And it's really lightweight, but I can actually see that it's drying down to a super matte finish. So I'm just going to complete the rest of my face and just see how it looks once I put everything together. And because I can actually see that it's beginning to crease, I'm setting it with my Laura Mercier translucent loose powder. This is the very first one. This is not the one in medium deep. I'm just going to set it with a small amount of that just so we don't see that creasing going on underneath my eyes. And then, yeah, I'm going to complete the rest of my face and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back, you know, full belly and all. You know, my final thoughts with the MAC Studio WaterWeight Concealer. In terms of the overall packaging, I'm not really a big fan of this type of like drip applicator thing. Now, I know the WaterWeight foundation does actually have the same type of applicator, you know, because that's kind of like the parent and this is like the child. But I'm not really a huge fan of this, especially if you're more in the beginner stage of makeup application and you may want to actually try this. This can be really, really tricky to work with because the consistency of it is really, really runny, which is why they probably have this type of like drip, what is it called, dropper type applicator, you know, so it probably would be easier for for the formula to actually come out of the container, but I'm not really a huge fan of it. You guys know I like my my foundations and concealers to have more sort of like a pump, or even if they have like the wand applicator like my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, that's perfectly fine. Not a big fan of this. Secondly, I did notice that after I completed the rest of my face that it did definitely oxidize. It looks more so like my NC50. I'm actually a really huge fan of the MAC Pro Longwear concealers. As you guys can see, this is the NC50, this is NC42, and this is NC45. And the NC45 in the WaterWeight actually reminds me of the NC50, and the NC50 is probably one of the concealers that I use on a regular basis, especially on days when I don't want to have like a super bright highlight whenever I go to work. The NC50 is actually more so closer to my skin's complexion. So this NC45 in the WaterWeight concealer is reminding me a lot of the NC50 in the Pro Longwear. And another thing that I noticed is that it did settle into some of the fine lines that I have underneath my eyes, and then I did apply a small bit of it here, so I can see just some small creasing here by my smile line area as well. So that's a no-no for me. I hate concealers that actually settle into fine lines, and I hate concealers that crease and crack. So that's definitely a no-no for me. Thirdly, and this is probably one of the best things I love about this concealer, is the fact that it's light to medium coverage, so it does feel really, really lightweight whenever you apply it on your skin. It's more so of that same consistency as the foundation. It's more like bare skin type, like persons who don't really want to have that cakey foundation makeup look. Like the consistency of the concealer and the foundation have that bare skin, next to nothing type of, there is a next to nothing line, but I'm assuming that, you know, that probably falls in line with that. You know, it has that bare skin type of feel to it. It's super, super lightweight, and that's probably one of the advantages and definitely one of the things I love about the WaterWeight line, both the foundation and the concealer. And finally, would I recommend this product? I'm sure you guys can already tell that I'm not really a big fan of this concealer. I'm not really a big fan of it. I'm sorry. I know some persons, or the person who actually wanted me to review it, was looking for me to say, yes, it's a good product, but I have to be honest, it did not work for me. However, I like to tell people this: everybody's skin is different, so it may not have worked for me, but it might actually work for you. So if you're actually considering buying it, then definitely give it a whirl. But this concealer actually retails for like $23, and you know, MAC is actually a high-end brand, so if you can actually find something that's in the drugstore brand price region, then why not? But if you're a huge big fan of MAC and you're still adamant about getting the WaterWeight concealer, then from my experience and my thought, I just feel like it's a waste of money, because you know, it settled into my fine lines, and if you are full coverage girl, then you're not gonna like it. And another thing I realized is that it definitely oxidized. It oxidized to the point that this is starting to look like my foundation. Like, it's getting darker and darker the more I sit here and the more I talk. So you might actually want to maybe perhaps get a sample or two, but because I'm accustomed to using the MAC Pro Longwear concealer in NC45 to use as a highlight, you know, I naturally thought that the WaterWeight would probably be the same color or shade, but obviously I was wrong, because she's now looking like an NC50. All right, ladies and gents, so that is it for my review slash demo of the MAC Studio WaterWeight Concealer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up on your way out. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please be sure to click that subscribe button on your way out. Until my next upload, I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.